Okay, thanks everybody for coming. It's the last lecture of the year, and I get to sit and watch with everyone but Kristen, because she's going to teach and talk of her history and Hempology's history as well, her history of the group, I should say. So really excited to watch that, and thanks everybody for coming. Those that want, I got some posters left if anybody wants a poster of the lecture series to take home. There's more than enough for everybody here, and a few extra. I forgot to bring up a certificate, Clayton. You certainly deserve a certificate. You knew you got a certificate for going to the lectures through the year?
No.
Well, then you're not disappointed I don't have it. But you've been here more than anyone. You guys haven't made, I don't think, all the lectures to get a certificate, really. So I have to give at least one. And you guys get like an outstanding, like, world, like, I don't know what to call it. But, yeah.
Oh, they could have a master's degree.
Masters. Anyway, Kristen's here to share her stories of Hempology, and it's been fantastic to work with her, and I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say today. So come on up, Kristen. Yay.
I guess I'm glad that it's the end of the year. It's like a small group instead of the beginning. It's crazy. I don't know if I can actually talk for half an hour, but I will try. So the history of Hempology 101, and then kind of my role within it is going to be my topic today. So we start at the beginning before I was ever involved. Ted moved out here from Ontario. He did some Hempology courses in Vancouver with some people who were involved in North Emery and kind of the Canvas crew over there. And he brought that really passion for education over here. And in 1995, attended the first Clubs Week at UVic. Well, the first Clubs Week he was at. And so I guess that makes this 15 years or something we've been up here. That's crazy. So since then, it's grown and grown and grown. In the beginning, it was pretty small, you know, like a couple dozen people. And then Ted went and got himself arrested for sharing some joints at UVic. One day, some undercover cops came along and they took the roaches and they put the roaches in their pocket and said, "You're trafficking drugs." And he got kicked off of campus and across the hall. And then things started to get a little bit more, I guess, active. The group grew and grew, even though Ted wasn't allowed on campus for those 3 years. He went up to Camosun and was doing weekly meetings up there on Thursdays, I believe. Or
No, it was Wednesdays. We had 3:20 at Camosun.
Okay, 3:20 at Camosun. And then they had other, like, presidents, and Gail, for example, here was involved. And they got, and they got a little bit more vocal, and the group grew and grew and grew, and we've gotten bigger and bigger. So we started doing a lecture series. So that's about 5 years ago. This is the end of the 5th year we've been doing a lecture series. It's kind of interesting. We're having quite a large online population now, which is I think only 2 or 3 years in the making that we've been putting
since
online.
the beginning.
Since the beginning?
Yeah.
Oh, since the beginning we've been putting it online.
5 years now.
Since it's growing.
It wasn't live at first.
Oh.
We have to put it up later, like we do with the...
No, I was running it in the chat room.
The changing history.
Yeah.
So we've been
So it
putting it
wasn't
online.
like our own live broadcast, and it was just with the big camera. Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're hosting them live on the Hempology page, I believe. Is that still happening?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So people have all sorts of ways of checking out online now if they can't actually come down. But I guess it would have been 3 years ago I graduated from the Hempology program after attending. I guess I attended most of the lectures the year before that, and then in second year, Cassie and I were really determined. We're like, we're going to get our certificate. So we came to every one and booked our schedules around it. And that got noticed because I won Chronic of the Year that year, which is this very snazzy trophy. Year 2 that it was around. I am the first and still only girl to win, which just kind of makes me proud. Makes me think you girls need to work harder, though. And so I was pretty involved by this point. There's conventions that we do. I think this is the 13th year we've had a convention this year. That is correct, up at UVic here. So the convention's been going on for a while, and they're once again getting bigger and bigger. We've had lots of great guest speakers. We've had Dr. Hornby out at several of them, Mark and Jody, or Mark or Jody. Michelle Rainey spoke at many of them before she passed away this year. And Bill Finley from Hempology Company has been a very recurrent speaker. And then, so anyway, back to my role. So I've been going to UVic and attending the 420s, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life, and I decided to take a year off. I was still coming to 420s on Wednesdays. And then we had this really small meeting. I think it was like reading week, probably, and there weren't a lot of people around, and it's kind of raining cold. There was maybe only like 2 or 3 dozen people at this meeting. And these older gentlemen showed up without backpacks, looking very straight-laced with their nice shiny shoes, and they just didn't really seem to fit in. And Ted was acting really weird that week. He's like, we've got to be very careful. Everybody has to be very adamant that they're careful about not trafficking, because at any time we could be infiltrated by undercover police. And I was like, I wonder what's up. So I looked around and I quickly spotted the people that did not belong, and was just really friendly. I tried to embrace that Hempology education mandate, where you just educate the shit out of people, and eventually they come around to your side. So we were telling them all about the various medical issues that can be here at campus, because that was the topic of the day. And we tried to get them to sing cannabis carols with us, and get them to sign up for the club and get their little membership button. And at the end, I grabbed one of them and I was like, no, this is the most important part. You have to do the cheers. But we're probably undercover police to go in and do the whoa 420 cheer, and they just look so uncomfortable. They didn't really know what to do with themselves. But I guess that kind of led to the next stage of my involvement with Hempology. So I started working down at the Cannabis Buyers Club, providing medicine to people with permanent physical disabilities and diseases. And then I kind of got involved a little bit in this research project Ted started. That's how he knew I was really interested in a job, because I applied for this research project for the World Society for Cannabis Research, which we probably still have a website for, but not much else. Because it turns out it's really complicated to start a scientific journal and do a research society. We do have a research project that we're doing, and it's being revamped in the process. But we'd hired a bunch of people to kind of concentrate on this project and try to get a whole scientific group together so that we could collaborate all the research that's being done. And slowly the other members of the team fell off one by one.
Actually, even more, when I put the ad out, that I put an ad in the Times Columnist and stuff, and Kristen just came up and said, well, I'm going to work on this project, don't waste your time with all this other stuff, I'm going to do this. I ended up going ahead with that process and hiring the wrong person. But in the meantime, I needed more help at the Buyers Club, so I hired her to do distribution, and then hired other people to do the research.
He's like, okay, well, I guess you can be the secretary. You can just take the notes and do the filing and make things organized. I made the few things that got done organized, and I just got more and more organized. Now I'm pretty involved in Hempology. We have a whole bunch of new and kind of broadened things that we've been doing. So the conventions are still going along very brilliantly. But the Cannabis Digest, it used to be just a couple pages of a newsletter, grew and grew, and it was about probably a dozen pages or more when we decided that we were going to move to a newspaper format. So Ted hired an editor, and he's the publisher, and now we have, I think it's 16, isn't it, this one?
No, that was 24. The first
24
one was 16.
pages of cannabis information that we put out. This one in particular I'm very proud of. I wrote the article on Jack Harrer after I met him at Hempfest, which is another Hempology event that Gail and I attended. Hempfest, for those of you who don't know it, is the world's biggest non-religious cannabis festival. There's some festivals in India where they draw millions and millions of people, like the Shiva festivals and things. But Hempfest is strictly focused on marijuana and industrial hemp being propagated in in the North Americas and across the world, and it was a real policy of legalization. So get lots of really big names up to it. It's down in Seattle in the beginning of August every year. It's worth a little clipper ride over if you guys want to see something amazing, because about 1 million people show up. It's just, as far as the eye can see, smoke. And just like, you know, those kind of like mythological cannabis heroes like Jack Herer, or the Merry Prankster buses and the Merry Pranksters came, and these really, Ed Rosenthal, and then a whole bunch of young, active upstarts, you know, people that want to get involved and are, you know, more of our generation, so they're using the internet, they're using social media, they're using all of this technology that we grew up with to really promote the cause. So it was an amazing experience. I'm so thankful to have Gail there with me. She was a lifesaver. And what else have we done that was very exciting with Hempology? Every year we have our weekly rallies here. We used to do them downtown until 2 years ago or three? 3 years ago. The drunks just got too much to handle, and so after 10 years I'd had to kind of call it quits, and now we only do the meeting up here once a week. But then during the summers we moved down to Beacon Hill Park and we played Reach for the Pot, which is the world's only cannabis game show, and a lot of fun. And I think 2 years ago I was the champion, and Steve, was it your team that was champion last year?
Oh, not last year.
No, Steve won it the second year. Gail won it the first
2006.
year. She was on the winning team. There's teams of 4. I don't know if you said
Yes.
that. But
So there's teams of 4, and you compete each other in a kind of a not prices right. I don't know. What's it modeled on, Ted?
Reach for the top.
Oh, okay. Which is before all of our generation.
Spinning it around, yeah.
So you try to just pull the answer out of the air, and if you can't do it, you answer some multiple choice questions. And you get a couple chances and a couple different ways to win points, and then there's some more interactive aspects of the game show. Well, I won't ruin the surprises. You have to come down. But it's from the first week in May to the last week in July,
Probably
approximately.
the end of April, but yeah.
It happens down in Beacon Hill Park, so at 7 o'clock. So it's a nice way to spend a lovely summer evening. And
Tell them about hosting it.
oh, and then I hosted it one time, and it was ridiculous. I made the questions way too hard, and I had such a young audience. There's a bunch of people that were, you know, their early 20s or late teens that had never heard of Arlo Guthrie. But Ted went away, and I think it was the longest game we probably ever played as well. I think it took something like an hour and a half to play this game show that can take 25 minutes. Oh, and then activism. How much time do I have, Ted? What's on this?
You still got like almost 15.
Yeah, I've gone through your whole list.
Oh, cool.
Activism, so I've been involved in a bunch of different activism campaigns, the biggest one being this fight against mandatory minimums here in Canada. They're trying to throw us all in jail, and I thought that was really wrong, because we're going to pay for it for the next, you know, decade, 2 decades, 4 decades, century. And it's going to lead to a situation like America, where large sections of the population are in jail for nonviolent crime. All that does is, you know, lead us to support them financially and ruin people's lives. I mean, those are whole families and, you know, whole communities that are blowing apart because someone is just, you know, removed for something that shouldn't be a crime. So first it was C26 and then C15 and then S10, and now we're having elections, so it'll be something else next year. But these mandatory minimums are just horrifying. So I started a phone jam. It was just something that occurred to me one day when I was trying to write a letter to a politician to say, you know, this is bad. And I got something like 8 phone calls in the time it took me to write this letter. And I was like, man, this is really annoying. I can't get any work done. And I was like, what if this happened in Ottawa? So I made up these little pamphlets. I don't know if we have any kicking around. I think there's some stuff on here.
There are still, yep.
Yeah, there's some still stuff in here if you want to check it out at the end. Basically, it was a small little handout which gave a couple facts and quotes about the war on cannabis and how it's affecting us. And then on the backside, a list of phone numbers to call, 12 people that were in Ottawa that had a really central role in this, whether they're on the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee. Some of them were strongly vocal opposition MPs that are already speaking out on their own. We thought we'd give them some talking points. Some of them had been involved in drug policy before, like Larry Campbell, the mayor of Vancouver, or Libby Davies. These kind of people that are already involved and already care about this. Or, on the other hand, we also targeted some people that were severely understaffed. It shows you all their secretaries. So for everyone who had only one secretary or none, we put them on the list because then they've got to answer our calls. I think it was effective. I've heard from several politicians when I called, they're like, "Oh, it's you people again," which said to me that they were listening to our message. If not wanting to, they had to, because they can't actually hang up on you. And this is really taken off. They've used it for a couple different campaigns now for other activism, whether that be forest, nature forests, or other cannabis activism. And we've also really tried to have a strong internet presence. So lately our websites have been multiplying and getting better and better, probably. So we have a Hempology one, a Cannabis Digest website, a Team 420, which is a wonderful, easy, sporty way to get involved in activism. Website, we've got, what else is there? The Cannabis Buyers Club, and I think there's still a Whisker one, I'm kicking it out there. Yeah. And the other thing I've been doing is going to school through Hempology 101. I've had a bit of a research grant, scholarship, I'm not sure how you want to phrase it, but basically they've helped to fund my education so that I can finish school, and also so that I can kind of cross-pollinate my activism I do in the cannabis field back into the university community. So for the last 2 years, I've been taking courses with Nancy Turner, who is an ethnobotanist extraordinaire. She's a distinguished professor here at the university, and just an amazing, well-researched, well-read, well-spoken woman. And we had to do a project this year for our ethnobotany course, a Making Things project, where you took something that grew in the environment, whether that was a weed or a native plant, and made a technology out of it, something that would benefit humanity, yourself or your friends. So some people made dream catchers, and some people made canoe paddles, and some people made salves. And what I made was hemp paper. So I used marijuana stock from a variety that's grown for the Cannabis Buyers Club. And I took all the stalks and I put them in a blender, some water, and it's amazing. This is completely unbleached. This is just marijuana stem. That's all that's in it. And it sticks itself together. So you get it all wet, and you blend it all up until you have this like pulpy mixture. You pull a strain up through it, through a bunch of it sitting in water, and it makes this flat layer. And then when it's still kind of wet, you just knock it off, and it comes off as one flat piece, and there you have paper. It's a little thick for rolling in, but and a little brittle for writing, but I think with a little bit of improvements, it could really rival the paper that we're all looking at and writing on right now. And then I had to write a paper for it. So I posted my paper on our forums, which if any of you have done any papers related to cannabis or and if you find any research studies in your studies, just you can go on the Hempology forums, and there's a special section for students where you can post the papers or research articles that you've found or written. And it's a great place for us to kind of compile the cannabis knowledge and help each other out as well. It's a great place to do some research if you're going to be doing a paper on cannabis or I'm out. I've still got 10 minutes left.
Yeah. Okay. If you want me to finish, I can.
You got any hints?
What were the other classes you took?
Other classes I took research methods in psychology because I thought it helped with writing our research project, and it didn't really. They said you have to ask a million questions and get a whole bunch of consent. I learned a lot about informed consent, so that was really beneficial. Oh, I took a pharmacology course, pharmacology with a focus on herbals. It's a second year course technically. You only needed like 100 level bio to take it, but it's definitely a fourth level kind of challenge, fourth year sort of challenge. It is a lot of drug names, and in the end, our professor turned out to be very ignorant about cannabis. We had one course, the whole topic was called pharmacology, with a focus on herbals, but we had one day where we focused on herbals, in which he told us basically herbal medicine is useless and unresearched and unbeneficial, and it can't really help you. And when I brought up cannabis, he only could conceive the pharmaceutical kinds of cannabis, like Dronabinol and Marinol, where they extract out certain cannabinoids or just synthetically make them out of some chemicals and call it cannabis. And that was interesting. It was really eye-opening how ignorant some people who are very educated can be. There's a professor who worked for Health Canada in the approval of drugs. So it really led me to see that we really have to, not only be students but also teachers in this community. You have to pass along the knowledge that you get and, correct people when they say things that are crazy out of whack. What else did I take?
That's been it.
I think that's been it. Tell you about the textbook. This is Ted's textbook he wrote a long time ago. It probably has a publishing date in it. 1996 he wrote it. And then he printed it again in 2000 and 2001. And it says, if pot made people lazy, this book would not be here, right here on the front cover. But he's been trying to publish it into an actual textbook on hemp paper since 2001, so that's 10 years now.
Well, that's on hemp paper.
This is on hemp paper.
That's all hemp paper and bound together by hemp, yeah. The front and back cover 100%, the others 60%, 40% flax. But
well, now that our newspaper is in order and we have an editor, hopefully this will be out in the fourth edition very soon. Did you have a publishing date in mind?
no, he's putting it together right now.
It's being put together right now as we speak. So hopefully in the next year or two, you'll all be able to get your very own copy of the Hempology textbook. It's kind of supplementary to the lecture notes that we have here.
It's all online.
There's an online version, yeah.
It's a lovely book. There's not a lot of headings. Lots of headings, not a lot of chapters. What else can I tell you? That's about it.
I think I'm taking over, so thank you so much, though, Chris. It's been a great pleasure to work with her. Certainly, she stands out amongst the university students we've come to know over the years. There's been many wonderful spirits come and go, but none that have stepped up to the plate, such as Kristen. Looking forward to working with her, and again, networking. We don't have a class this semester, but next September we'll again pick a different class with a professor that we would both try to educate and through Kristen learn a bit from as well. So it's been wonderful because at the same time Gail has sat in on a lot of the classes as well for free, coming with Kristen, and it's been a great way for Gail to pick up some knowledge as well for our clubs. Looking forward to seeing all that comes from her continued work. So thanks again. I guess there's a couple things I might add, which I guess would be we have more clubs than the University of Victoria now. Last year we started a club at Vancouver Island University. Andrew, the editor of our newspapers from VIU, he was editor of The Navigator, and I saw how good a work he could do, which is why I hired him for our newspaper. And so Andrew got a club going up there, and we had a convention last year that was very successful, a packed room, and lots of great speakers. Unfortunately, this year's convention was canceled because they went on strike. They're still on strike. It's very unfortunate. The students have had their semester completely ruined.
Did they get their money back?
Don't know the details, but anyway, we had to cancel that convention. So next year we'll have another one. But we were also able this year to spearhead a club at UBC there's a number of keen students that we've come across, and so we held our first ever UBC Cannabis Convention back in January. So our plan was to have January UBC and then February here and March in Nanaimo. It didn't quite work out that way, but certainly next year we should have the 3 conventions each month, and hopefully we'll be able to expand into more post-secondary schools and with conventions and possibly lecture series and other events to follow, but conventions seem to be a great way to get it spearheaded. So the model that we've created here with our various kinds of meetings is one that I think could be applied in different ways to different campuses. They might not all be able to have the 420 smokeout sessions like we do immediately, but they might be able to break the ice with their other events and break down sort of some of the barriers to these kinds of events. So we're really excited to be on the other universities, and so that's been a great new addition. As you know, Kristen said, there's a lot of exciting things are implied that I guess in the future for Hempology. The most exciting to me is we expect this summer Anders putting together the copy sort of edit of our textbook, and so within a few months' time we're going to either go to a printer ourselves and set up our own publishing company or work with an existing one. But I imagine by September, when the next semester starts, well, I would really, really love to have the textbook available to kick off the school season in September. I can't make promises, but it would be a wonderful thing indeed. I guess the other important thing that Hempology has done is provide the advocacy work that the Cannabis Buyers Club has greatly benefited from. And getting arrested here on campus and getting arrested at my cookie giveaway on Medical Marijuana Day and the downtown rallies and other work that I've done has drawn a lot of attention to the issue and brought, I think, a lot to Victoria's, even downtown culture at times. We don't do it there every week, but certainly we've broken the ice here in Victoria with the police and on campus by being just so persistent, smoking pot so often that it's helped it become very much a part of the culture of Victoria. And so, yeah, it's been just incredible work for the last 15 years, meeting all sorts of wonderful people. And I just can't imagine what we'll do in the next 15 years from here. So thanks again, everybody. It's been quite a year kicking off with Florence. Otherwise, I think next year is going to be a spectacular year here as well on campus. And otherwise, thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks again, Kristen, for teaching today. Have a great day.